Hi class, my name is Lucas Matson, and I chose to argue that the United States should not have dropped nuclear weapons on Japan for a variety of reasons. Let's get into it. So there's always this false dichotomy that it was either the atomic bombs or a million American lives if we were to invade mainland Japan. And let me talk about why this false dichotomy, starting with the Russians, who aren't often talked about in regards to the Pacific theater in World War II, but who actually played a significant role in the ultimate surrender of Japan. For most of World War II, Japan was fighting a single front war in the Pacific with its forces on one side of the Pacific and the United States on the other side advancing. And that is how it remained until the summer of 1945, when the Japanese and the United States found themselves in a sort of stalemate. The United States didn't want to invade mainland Japan, so the forces were in a crux. However, Japan had conquered much of mainland China, Manchuria, as well as Korea and other territories on mainland Asia, territories which just so happened to border the Soviet Union. With Germany defeated, the Soviet Union then turned its attention to Japan's mainland territories and conquered them quickly, facing almost no resistance, which terrified Japanese leaders. Japan knew they couldn't win a two-front war with the Soviet Union on one side and the Americans on the other, and were preparing to surrender in late August of 1945. And American leaders knew this. There were multiple first-hand documents from Harry Truman and top Pentagon, or I guess not Pentagon at the time, but military officials stating that Japan was on the brink of surrendering and Japanese leaders were simply figuring out a way to surrender and keep their emperor on the throne. So sort of way of saving face, but also they need to surrender. They knew that. So just to recap, Japan was on the brink of surrendering due to the Russian conquering of Japanese territories, and American officials knew this. However, President Truman was concerned about how global politics were going to play out in the post-World War II landscape and was primarily concerned with the Soviet Union. He thought that the Soviet Union needed a show of force to solidify the United States' strength in Soviet eyes, and believed that dropping the nuclear bombs on Japan, once again, after they were already on their way to surrendering, was a perfect way to do it, to show a way of force. This is all verifiable through telegrams and conversations that Truman had with his advisors at the time. And although Truman was adamantly in favor of dropping atomic bombs on Japan, 7 of the 8 top American military leaders were adamantly opposed to it. Eisenhower believed, and I quote, "Japan was already defeated and dropping the bomb was completely unnecessary." So the United States dropped 2 bombs and Japan quickly surrendered. However, Japan did not surrender due to the dropping of the bombs. And I'm about to quote a US Navy exhibit that is on atomic bombs. It's an actual US Navy exhibit. And I quote, "The vast destruction wreaked by the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the loss of 135,000 people made little impact on the Japanese military. However, the Soviet Union of Manchuria changed their minds. In the wake of the bombs, 130,000 to 270,000 people had died. Those people essentially died in the name of an American show of force. To make matters worse, it is widely believed that the waging of nuclear war against Japan is what initially prompted the Soviet Union to begin developing their own arsenal of nuclear weapons in defense against the Americans. So not only did Truman's choice to kill hundreds of thousands of Japanese on the eve of surrender not even achieve what it wanted, it would also it didn't even achieve what he wanted, which was to intimidate the Soviet Union with a show of force. It did not do that. They only doubled down and developed their own arsenal. Totally backfired. So in conclusion, the Americans should not have dropped the atomic bombs because it was entirely unnecessary due to Japan's imminent surrender. Truman's advisors were against it, the members of the Manhattan Project were against it, and it was senseless killing that could have possibly started the Cold War. Thank you guys for listening.